Hey, this is a Hakawati production. What? Women in the men's room? Okay. All right. Hey guys, welcome to the men's room. We're going to shake things up a little today and talk about something I think we all care about, and that's what do women want from men? The truth is, no matter how successful you are in your business or career, being happy depends a lot on how happy you are in your relationship. Guys, doesn't it often seem that everything is all right and everything is in its place, yet your wife or girlfriend often seems unhappy and dissatisfied? So what do women really want from men? It's a universal conundrum. No matter your culture, ethnicity, or language, men these days are constantly scratching their heads over what it is that women want from them. And this is actually a real problem. Research since the 1940s has revealed that women are responsible for initiating at least 70% of divorces. I actually always thought it was the other way around. So what's going wrong? Well, we're going to solve that riddle today right here with the help of two of my fellow Hakawati hosts, Dr. Sandrine Atallah. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And who's the host of Sex Talk, and Rayane Abou Jaoude, the host of Khilqit Binit. Dr. Sandrine is a medical psychosexologist and
Correct.
hypnotherapist known for her brutally honest approach to sex and relationships.
But I'm not brutal, please.
Brutally. It doesn't mean brutal. It means that you don't mince words and you're not uncomfortable talking about it.
Okay.
And
Frank.
sometimes other people might be.
Okay, straightforward, let's say.
And then Rayane is a Beirut-based journalist who has covered everything from culture, the arts, security, and refugees. Mm-hmm. And on her show, Khilqit Binit, she interviews prominent, characterful women from the MENA region.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, welcome, gentlewomen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to say you're both pretty brave coming in the men's room like this. I really like that. I'm really excited to have you both here because I think if anyone understands women, it's the two of you, especially collaboratively. Let's break this topic up into two parts, what women want from men, and talk about what do you think women find attractive when they first meet a man? So let me start maybe with you, Rayane, if you can sum it up into one sentence.
Okay. I think first and foremost, they're attracted to a man's confidence, the way he carries himself. Most importantly, the way he talks to her, the respect. That's what I would think.
What about you, Dr. Sandrine?
Well, I guess we need to specify that we're talking about heterosexual women. So women who are interested in men.
Yeah.
And it's very, very individual, and it varies from a woman to another. According to studies, because I'm a doctor, so I'm very scientific, from an evolution way, women will look at physical aspects in men. For example, the jaw, the shoulders, and the buttocks. Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting, Dr. Sandrine.
But also, they will look at signs of richness.
Yeah.
So the car, the watch, the clothes, unfortunately, yes. But also they look at the way he looks at her and the way he listens, because she doesn't only want a powerful man to be able to have a family with him, but she needs a caring man who would be able to carry and, let's say, care about this family and to take care of the kids. So she needs him to listen, and he needs to have a good memory. So on the long term, she will be attracted to his, let's say, attention.
Mm-hmm. So obviously right now you're talking about people who are looking for a mate or someone that they could potentially marry.
It's unconscious. Whether you're searching for a one-night stand or for a long-term relationship, you're attracted to the same things. It's really, you don't decide to whom you are attracted. Mm-hmm. And with experience and with your, upbringing and your own personality, you're attracted to different types of men, of course.
Okay, that's interesting. What about, so there are different types of relationships, as you just pointed out. How can men tell if a woman just wants to have a one-night stand or whether she wants to be in a long-term relationship? Is that something that men can read?
They can ask for them not to be into harassment. The talking is the best way, because if you just want to read the signs, it's not enough. And sometimes you don't have consent if you're just reading the signs. Of course, seduction is a game, but we're in a very contradictory society, and sometimes the signs that we give are not well read. Because they are often played out and not true. So it's very important to communicate. It's not like in Europe or in the States where you're really, when a woman wants to have sex, she would say that she just wants to have sex. Maybe here in our countries, it will not be that straightforward. So men won't be able to read these women.
So they need to ask and be open and
of course,
vocal
of
about
course. It's very
communication.
Important. Communication is very important.
That's true.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about seduction. Then, the seduction process, which I know you've been talking a little bit about on your show, or at least on your social media. And I'm sure you can weigh in on this as well, Rayane. How do men successfully seduce women? I'm sure there's almost a science to this, because some guys are really good at it and some guys are really bad at it, and it has very little to do with those physical traits that you mentioned before.
Well, it's actually the opposite. It's women who seduce men, because it's women who will give the signs that she wants to be seduced or approached. So a man who knows how to handle women, men who know how to handle women.
I think we understand what
yes.
you mean. Yeah.
Should be capable of seeing, let's say, the openness and the real signs, and he should see the green light.
Okay. If he says the wrong thing or does the wrong thing, then it's game over, right? So I think obviously it's a two-way street. So definitely it starts this way, but doesn't then the man, he needs to seduce the woman to take it to the next level?
Well, it really depends on the woman he's trying to seduce. Some women will need to feel secure. Some will search for someone who will listen to them, and some will search for someone who will tell them that they are beautiful, pretty, and some women will be seduced by a guy who will talk about literature and movies. So it really depends on who's the target. Some women are very attracted, according to studies, by men with dogs or men who cook. So it's very, very different from a woman to another. If you are in a bar, I guess that eye contact is very important. A big smile is very important, and not saying or having small talk or like silly talk, like you look beautiful. Having
that doesn't work. I have to say, it creeps women out. For sure.
It should be a meaningful
like
compliment.
You are very beautiful,
Yeah, it should be
not sexy.
Yeah, just like bring up an interesting subject or you talk about something interesting.
It could be a compliment. I like the way I don't know, you look at me. It's personal. It needs to be personal. If it's not personal, it will not work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm going to weigh in on this because I happened to watch this TED Talk a few days ago about seduction, because it's actually something that people need to do in their everyday life, even to get jobs, even to maintain friendships, or because the seduction process is also about this two-way street of, getting the other person to care about you in some way. So there's this. He told this psychologist told the story of Casanova, who's famous for being a big seducer, right? So there's this story of him going into a bar and he sees this beautiful actress and he starts talking to her and she has a lisp and she can't pronounce the letter R. So he goes home and writes a play for her over 3 days and nights that doesn't have any words with the letter R and presents it to her. And obviously she's smitten and whatever. They have a one-night stand. I don't know. It's Casanova. I don't know. But the point is that this psychologist made was that what Casanova did was fulfill a need. So what you're saying is that, which is true, the seduction process has to be like, you have to really pay attention to the signals that the other person is giving you so that you understand what it is that like floats their boat. Because if you're going to talk about movies and they don't care about movies, you're probably not going to go anywhere.
And you need to have the same body language. Also, when you mimic the same body language, it's easier.
So it's about being tuned in, right?
Yeah, it's like what Dr. Sandrine said. It's important. It's important to notice if you're harassing someone who's clearly not into it, or you're seeing the other person being really receptive.
Yeah.
And it goes both ways for women and men, because women obviously can seduce men as well.
Right.
And can approach men.
Yeah. So then what happens to that process in a long-term relationship? Because, a lot of the problems, because this is all fine and dandy. So sometimes this process goes well. And then people get together into long-term relationships. And then suddenly, like, that paying attention to the cues of the other kind of, dwindles. What happens? Why are women, initiating 70% of the divorces? Why do you think? What do you think, Rayane?
I'm no expert. I'm not.
But I mean, as a woman,
But,
you must have seen
mean,
a lot of people around you.
Sure, I think, and it's something Dr. Sandrine already said, I think communication sort of, when you get used to the other person maybe, and you spend so much time with them, things sort of settle down. Things naturally fizzle out, I think. But then when you stop talking, that's where it gets really dangerous, because you stop communicating your needs, and your needs can change over time. And there's something that you like, you may no longer like, or you're growing into yourself as a person. And I think maybe as women, we are taught to communicate better, perhaps, especially about our feelings.
But if you're communicating based on what you're saying, then everything should be fine and dandy. So then
maybe
the
the other
problem
person
is on the
not.
other end.
Yeah, and it's not just, it could be the other way around. Either women are not or men are not, but there's definitely maybe something that's missing.
What do you think?
Well, long-term relationships are not natural. So we're not made to be in a long-term relationship. And if we want to stay in a long-term relationship, we need to work on it. And if you don't continue all day long and every day to work on your relationship, to put an effort, to work on seduction, to be attentionate, to really be there for your partner, you will not have, the couple cannot survive. And you need to reinvent your couple every 5 years. It's very important. If you don't want to do that, your couple will not survive. This is it's normal. And women usually, biologically, they feel the need for change, because biologically they need to have other partners to have better, let's say, resistant children. And if they have kids from different men, their kids have more chance to survive.
Okay,
so they search for new partners.
Interesting.
Oh, wow,
I never heard that
that.
theory,
Yeah.
actually.
So when you are ovulating and you are with a long-term partner, usually you are more seductive with other men, other than your partner.
Yeah.
And your behavior change with other men.
So actually, that's true, and that's a well-known fact, is that people actually do the seduction thing more in their everyday life, and then they come home, and actually the men do this a lot as well. They come home, they just want to chill, right?
Exactly.
They're just like, oh, great, I'm home, I can relax now. And then, of course, that's great, but that creates a problem over time, because it's like, well, you're no longer engaging with that person that's supposed to be interesting, and that you're supposed to be
interested anymore.
It's not sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is at the root of a lot of things, right? And then there's also what you're talking about, which is that the conditions of have changed, over historically. It used to be that people used to want to have a lot of kids, right? Like you wanted to have 8 kids, let's say, to take care of your land. You'd have 10 because 2 might die. This is what Esther Perel uses as an example. And then, obviously they were very motivated to have sex. And if you're motivated to have sex, you're going to be motivated to be interested in the other person. So in this day and age, since we have like a couple of kids, then people stay married for years and years. What's the motivation to keep wanting to have sex and to keep wanting to be interested in the other person?
People are motivated to have sex, but not with the same partner. Because what is new is more exciting, and it gives more pleasure. But if they want to stay faithful to a partner, or if they're not in an open relationship, because you can be in a long-term relationship but be in an open relationship, this is one of the solutions. But in case you want to be faithful, you need to work on it.
Yeah. To keep it exciting and try new things.
Exactly, to break the routine.
Yeah,
Are there a lot of couples that are comfortable with these open relationships?
They are.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
Really?
polyamorous, yes.
Even here in the Middle East?
Yes.
Wow.
We see everything.
Yeah. But that's because I would think that men especially would be most uncomfortable with this, because it seems like especially in the Middle East, there's this kind of culture of men feeling like they own the woman that they're with, this sense of ownership. And the thought of, their woman being with another guy is like horrible, right? It must be a hard thing for them to accept. Is this not the case?
Well, I don't know in the Middle East, but in Lebanon, it's changing a bit. I'm not talking about the whole population being into open relationships. No. But the mentality is changing a bit because a lot of women and men are studying abroad, are being into relationships with foreigners and strangers, let's say, from other cultures. And their culture is changing a bit.
Yeah.
It's like a melting pot.
So about this whole ownership also thing, some men tend to be a little bit domineering, controlling, right? I'm sure, does that ring a bell, or am I inventing things?
Men are changing. Some are this way. Some are very sensitive, and some are more fragile and vulnerable than their partners.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is just that, again, I've been reading about the topic and stuff like that, about relationships. And there's this balance that human beings need between having a sense of security and a sense of adventure and exploration. And then if one of the partners becomes overly controlling and, kind of holds the other person on a leash, then the other person will rebel and want to get out of that noose as quickly as possible, right? So I would think that more often men are like that, but maybe I'm wrong.
To be frank, I think that Lebanese women, for example, are very controlling and very demanding, and they put a lot of pressure on their men. They need to have the perfect wedding, the house, the car, the dining out, the gifts, and I don't know if they are doing the same for their men.
I wish I was born Lebanese.
No, but
I
a
wish
lot
that
of it
was
is.
my expectations. I think it's like, is this wearing down men?
It's a pressure from both.
Is it?
I
Yes,
think.
yes.
Yeah, different
Is it
types
hard
of
for
pressure.
men?
But
Yeah.
It's
I've
very
heard
hard
it is,
for
yeah.
men. I have a lot of men complaining and saying that they don't feel desire anymore. They're not into sex anymore. They feel that they're not manly enough, that they're not enough for their partner. We should not overgeneralize
So why do they feel like that?
because they are castrated by their partners.
Because why? Because they're asking for a nice car and a nice dinner? It can't be that simple.
No, because there's a lot of expectation on a man to provide.
Women
I
are
think.
telling them all the time, you're not enough. You're not giving me enough. I need this. I need that. And they're not asking about what he needs and what he is dealing with at work or during his daily life. It really depends if the woman is working or not. When she's working, you have an equilibrium. And he cannot dominate her and she cannot dominate him unless one of them is more powerful or is more successful in his or her career. But today it's a fight over power, and the couples who succeed are the couples that they complete each other. They're not into competition with each other. And they are ready to really help the other as a partner. When a man is ready to do the dishes and when a woman is ready to, spend more on the house than her partner, for example.
You mean spend more?
I don't know.
Pay the bills, you
yes,
mean, or something?
pay the bills or schools and education.
So you're talking about women who are putting all this pressure on the men. Are they happier when they get that? Is that really what women, like these women that you're describing that are maybe not working and stuff, is that what makes them happy, really?
These women are sometimes working, and we're not sure if they are more happy, but they have this image, and it's a conflict because they want a man who is very sweet. Okay, so they choose a man who's very sweet. And then they realize that they want a strong man. So they want this Prince Charming that doesn't exist, the strong, sweet man. And they would say to their partner, my father would do that, my brother would do this, my ex-boyfriend would do that. But they picked a sweet man for him not to be like their father or brothers. So it's really a conflict.
We're
And
supposed to be solving this, Dr. Sandrine.
And it's usually to solve it, you need to be clear about your expectations, and you really need to be with the person before getting married to really know this person and really have the same objectives and, I don't know, future plans. And for some men also, they have complicated desires. They want the very sexy woman in their bed, but they want a pure woman in their house. And once they get married, they cannot desire this woman anymore because she's pure, she's not sexy. So this is what we call the Madonna whore complex that we see a lot in Arab countries. So it's complicated. Relationships are complicated. The key words would be talking, and listening. So it's about communication.
Yeah. So about marriage, which we brought up a little bit earlier, I'm going to ask you, Rayane, what your thoughts are, considering that a lot of men and women now are both working. Often they're equal in their careers. Can men and women be equal partners and still be attracted to each other? Because traditionally, like what you just described, men are attracted to a sexy woman who doesn't really have that. Rarely you'll hear like that a man is like, oh, it's so hot, she has a career. It's like that's the third, fourth thing on the list, right? And then, we're talking about sexual attraction here. And then women are attracted usually to a man who is strong, who is, manly. So when those roles get mixed up in a marriage or in a relationship where they're both kind of, maybe the guy is doing the dishes and the woman's paying the bills, like you said, do you think, Rayane, that this can work? And is, in this modern day and age, marriage still relevant in the traditional sense of the word?
Well, I think gender roles in general are a social construct, personally. So I don't really, that whole idea of if as a man, you're not attracted to a woman if she has a career, that to me, if you are that type of man, that way of thinking definitely needs to change. That doesn't exist anymore. And it's a result of deeply embedded social ideas that are totally irrelevant. So if there's a problem in a marriage because both partners are working equally and making equal amounts of money and contributing equally and someone is unhappy, I think that's a whole other issue. Is marriage irrelevant? I think a lot more people are deciding to live together and even have children without marriage. I think not to say that it's become irrelevant. I think it's become a choice, which is great. I think you can either choose to have that kind of formal commitment, religious or non-religious or not. But I think, now it's less about the big wedding and the big marriage thing, and it's more about having an actual partnership, which is what the whole thing is about, marriage or no marriage.
Yeah. What do you think, Dr. Sandrine?
It's the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. But the studies show,
yes, I love your studies so much.
Going back to studies, that when a man does the dishes,
yes,
he would have sex more with his partner.
Okay,
yeah,
you hear that, y'all?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What else can he do? What other chores are sexy in your studies?
It's not about sexy; it's about helping.
Yeah. Oh, okay, but you're saying helping is sexy.
It's let's say it will allow the woman to consider having sex with her partner because if she's rested and she feels secure and she can count on him, she will find him sexy. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Because a lot of sex therapists, especially the more Dr. Sandrine, I'm going to say, like, just based on what I know about your show, which is limited because it's in Arabic, you're very in-depth and you really go beyond, the normal things. Because a lot of sex therapists, like, someone writes about their relationship, I'm not attracted to my spouse anymore, I don't feel like having sex, what can we do? And then the doctor will be like, why don't you try spicing it up in the bedroom, get some toys, like wear some funny outfits, have sex in unusual places. Are those really... let's say a woman is no longer into sex and then with her partner, and then the husband's like, oh, let's spice it up. Is this really going to help his relationship?
It can, if you really talk about fantasies and really work on what both partners like. I always tell my patients that when you were dating, you were anticipating sex and you were anticipating seeing your partner. You didn't see him the whole day. You chose your outfit, your perfume, you, I don't know, brushed your teeth, your hair, and you were happy to see this person. And once you are living with this person, you need to do the same effort. So it's not
Especially brushing your teeth.
Yeah, of course.
In the morning.
So it's not
First thing.
It's not necessarily about sex stories.
Yeah.
But it's about dating and putting something new on the table. It's very important
Exploring.
and it can work.
So do you see more in your practice? Do you see more conjugal problems or sexual
I don't
problems?
do regular couples therapy.
Okay.
I usually refer to couples therapists. I only do sex therapy.
So what does that mean exactly?
Well, it's when it's sex, the sex is the issue.
Okay.
But the relationship is doing fine.
Yeah.
So they get along, they're good together, they have a good chemistry, they're happy together, but the sex is not working out.
Like they're just not enjoying it.
Not enjoying it or
there are
afraid
problems,
of
like-
failing, not reaching pleasure, not desiring it anymore, not being able to achieve it. There are many, many reasons.
Yeah. So Rayane, we talked a little bit before about monogamy, and Dr. Sandrine mentioned it. You've met a lot of strong, independent women, probably in your journalism career and here with your podcast. Do you see that those women are less likely to be in relationships? Do you ever talk to them about that? And is there a different expectation for a woman who's very strong and independent? Is she less likely to feel obliged to be in those monogamous relationships from what you've seen?
Well, normally I just cover their career, to be frank. We don't really talk about their sexual preferences or their relationships.
Not even off the air?
Maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe with one guest, we talked about her marriage, maybe. But
Okay. What did she say?
I'll translate the episode for you.
Okay.
It's a really good one.
Okay.
But I think it's not about having less expectations in terms of monogamy. I think it's, I don't think strength is necessarily related to what a straight woman wants or doesn't want from a man. A lot of the times they're much more comfortable with their needs and they take ownership of their bodies, I think.
Because women who don't have a career or who don't have a strong sense of self.
But I don't think that's necessarily related to career. I think it's just about
A sense of self.
Perhaps.
Maturity.
Yeah, some kind of maturity, exactly. It also depends on, I think, just how conservative your ideas are, how traditional your ideas are. That I noticed has a lot to do with how a woman perceives sex and perceives relationship and perceives marriage or non-marriage, monogamy, non-monogamy. The kind of freedom that you're allowed and that you allow yourself. You know
And what
I
are
mean?
we talking about here, monogamy? Are we talking about one person
partner.
at a time or one partner forever?
I think it's one
have
person
to-
at a time.
Yes,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
1%.
Oh, okay. Are you saying, Dr. Sandrine, that we're not supposed to, we're not pre-programmed to even be monogamous? Like
For 3 years only.
3 years is what
Yeah.
is your timeline? Oh, interesting.
It's evolution, but we can change and we can decide
But
to
where
be...
did you get that number?
Well, it's related to chemistry. Usually you have neuroreceptors and you have endorphins and dopamine and oxytocin that are released when you are with a partner. And over 3 years, your receptors become numb to these, neurotransmitters, and you don't feel the passion anymore. But you can feel the love. And you can still be attached to this person and decide to be with him. We're not animals. We're human beings. And when we,
Well, most of us anyways.
yeah, mainly. But usually when you decide to stay with a person because you want to get old with this person, so you're searching for a companion. And if you're mature about it and you have realistic expectations and you are willing to evolve and to work on your relationship, it can last forever.
Yeah. But you're saying that state of attraction and wanting to be monogamous kind of expires after 3 years, and that's natural.
Yes, but you can work on it. And you can have fantasies, you can open your relationship, you can leave it closed and bring into it fantasies. And it depends on your personality. And some people are genetically prone to be faithful and other people are genetically prone to be unfaithful.
How do you know it's genetic and not like what she said, like religious and tradition?
Because it was done on twins. There are some studies that show that we have some genetic factors, but we also have environmental factors and factors related to culture. But we have factors related to our personalities and to our context and to, of course, the person that we have in front of us. If your partner is not helping you, you might not be able to stay faithful. But if you have a real partnership and you really communicate and you really work on your relationship, it can be a success. And no, lovely couples. I've seen couples together for 45 years and 50 years, and they're doing great.
Wow.
And they still have the attraction and they still want to have sex.
But, I mean, that has to be very strong from the beginning in order to be able to reignite it, right?
It's not necessarily very strong, but it's, let's say, two souls that are always communicating all the time. And they really have a real partnership. Like Rayane said, it is a partnership.
Do you think, as a sex therapist, that there's something chemical that happens in certain couples that doesn't happen in others?
Well, we are attracted to some people more than others for genetic reasons and for chemical reasons. But we are also individuals who think, who have a story, a history, a childhood, an adolescence, values, cognitions, our own problems, our own insecurities. So it's a mix. It's really a mix of a lot of factors.
To kind of go over what we've said, what women want from men, which is kind of what men want from women.
It's the same. It's the same.
But is it really the same? I mean, aren't men and women built differently? Aren't there things that are attractive in general to most women and things that are attractive in general to men in terms of behaviors?
If you remove the stereotypes, no.
It's always socially constructed. I mean, I think it's about society,
human beings,
asking you, I'm telling you what you want, what's attractive to you, but that's not necessarily the case. You remove that bit. All you want is kindness, respect, some form of commitment, if that's what you're looking for, physical intimacy, emotional
maybe
intimacy.
Adventure, surprise, attention.
So is this maybe what's going wrong, is that people and some men are trying to live up to this social construct and then it's not working because it's kind of not getting at the heart of the problem? Is this maybe what's happening? And women want those connections, this kind of deeper, kind of listening to each other and communication. And a lot of men think what more could she want? I got her a nice car. I take her out. I do everything that's expected. And they don't go beyond that. And they think that that's okay because we have this idea, especially in certain cultures. Maybe it's changing, but it still exists. Let's be honest.
The problem is the models that we have. If women are going to dream about a Cinderella story and men are going to dream about a porn story, it's not going to work. If they have the same realistic expectations, it's going to work. So it depends on what you're building your relationship.
Okay.
I think it's important to educate girls and boys when they're young and teach girls the Cinderella thing. It's not real. And the porn thing, that's not real either. You have to find, whatever it is that you want as a person, grow into your own person. Don't expect a Prince Charming. That's not real. And you shouldn't want that, in my opinion. And don't expect a porn star because that's totally unreal.
Unless you're actually a porn star.
Unless you're actually a porn star. And even then, that's all staged. That's what Sandrine will tell you.
And don't expect to change people. Because a lot of people, they do get married. They see the flaws in the beginning, but they think that with time it's going to change, and with marriage it's going to change. No, we evolve, but we do not change. So don't expect for things to change. If you see a problem, talk about it before getting committed, or be open to the idea that if it's not working, okay, I can easily break up or get divorced or separated.
Yeah.
So I started with that figure of 70% of divorces are initiated by women. Why do you think it's women who are more often unhappy than men? Is it because of what you said? Explain what you think and explain what you think, Rayane.
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Dr. Sandrine.
I have been talking a lot. I've been talking a lot.
No, not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know if it's.
They are both unhappy.
Yeah,
They are
it's
both
not-
unhappy.
Yeah, but why are women initiating it more?
It's also social. There's a point of time where usually men, they don't like to confront the problems. They usually try to avoid the problem. And if he's unhappy in his, with his wife, he will try to find other solutions, and he will try not to get divorced. Women, when they are really fed up and they are really unhappy,
like, get me out of here.
yes, because it's a bit today. It's still a bit difficult for them to have another story, another love story, or a parallel life. So it's better for them to really get out of this relationship and start a new one. It's the same all over the world. It's the same in Europe, and it's the same in the States. It's women, they ask for a divorce more, but both partners are unhappy. Both are. In the States and in Europe, they are getting married less. We have more, it's more minorities want to get married, and straight people, they're trying not to get married. Because marriages are difficult. And if you want to stay in a marriage, you need to work on your marriage. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
And like what we said before, this whole idea that's based on old traditions and social constructs has changed so much.
Very much so, yeah.
People in urban societies are very self-sufficient. They no longer need to be committed to a partner who will help them survive on their farm that freezes in the winter. You can order takeout, you can, live in a small apartment. I mean, life is easy these days in certain ways, in the physical, practical way. Of course, people are more isolated and the communities are not as connected. But in terms of survival, it's a lot easier.
Life is different, and today temptations are bigger, and you move a lot, you see a lot, and you're, let's say, demanding more. I think that people back, 100 years ago or 200 years ago, they were more convinced by what they had.
Satisfied.
Yes.
The expectation of happiness today is very high.
Because they are searching for something that does not exist.
Yeah.
And people are becoming superficial. They are really into consumption. And you cannot build a relationship built on consumption. You're not consuming a partner. And this is very important.
Well, this actually ties up the loose end of what we said earlier very well, is that in a relationship, and since we're speaking to men tonight, today, whenever you're listening, is the fact that material goods or gifts or these things, it's all good and fine, even if a woman is demanding them. But in the end, this will not be the secret to a happy relationship. And people all have to understand that.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Gifts, I mean, they're nice. Gestures are nice, but that's not the essence of a relationship.
Of course
Some things
not.
are way more important.
Yeah.
If you are looking for a healthy relationship with someone, you should know that it's not about gifts at all.
Unless it's your birthday.
Unless it's your birthday.
And then if the other person forgets, then it's
if you like
really
your
bad.
birthday and you want a present, sure.
It's about communicating and caring, I guess,
Yeah.
and respect, and not taking the other for granted. This is very important. And when you notice when a person has a lover, he or she will go to the gym and work on his or her body and wear nice clothes. We should do the same with our long-term partners. This is the secret also.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, this is for you, Dr. Sandrine. So what do women, and this is the question of this episode, what do women want from men in bed sexually?
Well, again, each woman is different. But what we need in general is to close the orgasm gap. Again, studies show that usually men orgasm much more than women. And gay women are much more satisfied than straight women, which means that women are not having enough pleasure with men. Why? Because men are not taking care of the clitoris, and they're not giving orgasms to women by touching, caressing, sucking, licking, vibrating the clitoris, and because women are not asking for it. So women shouldn't be ashamed of asking about their preferences.
Well, they won't have to ask anymore because now we just told everyone.
So they know everything.
So pay attention.
But some women will tell you that they don't like foreplay. They like rough sex.
Right.
Some women will tell you, I need to feel that I'm raped. I had a couple that came for a consultation, and they came together. He told me she likes us to play. It's a role play.
Yeah.
That I'm raping her, but I've been raping her for 30 years, and I don't want to rape her anymore. I want to stop this game.
That's
It's not real rape. Okay, so she likes
It's consensual. It just sounds
yes,
awful.
It's consensual. So it's very different from a person to another. This is why what's very important is to talk and not to expect to have extreme pleasure from a one-night stand. Because usually you're with a stranger and you might not feel pleasure. You might feel very excited and have a very nice night, but maybe you might be able of orgasming more with your vibrator or your fingers alone. So you should not mix everything. Usually women wants to share a good moment with men, and it's not about performance. It's really about living the moment with their partner.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, girls. I'm so glad you stopped by, ladies, gentlewomen.
Women. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe on hakawati.com to my podcast and to Dr. Sandrine and Rayane's podcasts. Bye.